Okay, chapter 11. We're going to be talking about pricing in this chapter. Got a lot of reading here, and we're going to cover concepts. Some of them are going to be a little bit more complicated, and for those, I'm going to flag them and tell you we don't have time to cover it in this short video, but you have the material in the chapter and you can drill down there. So I'm going to flag those for you as we go through this. So let's talk a little bit about pricing and retailing. So includes all the variables that influence the price. Things like, what are my objectives in the pricing? How flexible can I be with that pricing? What kind of policies do I have in place with that pricing? What's my competition doing? What's the demand? Obviously supply and demand, right? So if there's not much demand, the price is going to go up or down, right? It's going to go down. But if I got a lot of demand, the price may go up. What kind of adjustments may I make in the middle of the year? Those would be examples of things that would come into play when we're talking about pricing. Let's talk about some types of pricing objectives that we would have, like product quality. So if it's a quality product, obviously part of that is going to be high price, right? And of course, people won't perceive it as being a quality product if it's a low price. It's just the way human nature is. I want to be able to have some kind of profit. What's the level of profit I hope to secure by the end of the year? Skimming. I might be new to the market. It might be a new thing, and I might be able to charge an awful lot for it at first, and then move on or move out of the market maybe altogether as the competition comes in, etc. So these would be types of pricing objectives. The book goes through a number of them, and I want you to be able to be aware of them if you're going to be discussing it in a quiz or something. Pricing ranges. So pricing flexibility, we mentioned that before. The competition and the demand are going to kind of set what the maximum price is going to be. So if there's a lot of demand and there's not much competition, that price is going to be fairly high. If there's a lot of competition, that's going to bring the price down. And if there's not much consumer demand, that's also going to act to bring the price down. So minimum price, the retailer's cost and the fixed price, I'm not going to, charge less than I'm paying for something unless it's a loss leader. But I'm not, generally speaking, not going to be going below what I'm paying for it. I wouldn't have any profit. It wouldn't make any sense. So that would set the floor, my lower price. Flexibility, what's the cost of running my business? What's the demand estimate for these products? What's the price elasticity of these products and product lines? Can they live without it? If it's too expensive, they're just going to say, no, I'm not going to bother with it. Or maybe they'll say, well, it's nice, it's too expensive, and I'm going to get this other thing that's similar. Cameras, for example, right? Camera, you want to have something that's really high-end. Low-end cameras, are people going to buy those anymore? No. Why? I can substitute with my cell phone. Much more cost-effective to do it that way. There's a calculation that has to do with that price elasticity, which we just discussed here. This is the calculation, something you probably have already covered in economics, but the price elasticity, if it's above or below 1 or right at 0, that's where you're going to be dealing with how elastic a price is. Substitute products, time period, price points, permanent, temporary price changes, etc. would be factors that affect that elasticity. Just the fact somebody might say this is a luxury item, I don't really need to have this, I can hold off buying it. Where if it's a necessity, they can't. Pricing policies, how much variation am I going to allow in it? Am I going to have some kind of promotional pricing like a loss leader? Am I going to try to keep prices level, all the same, as close as possible? Life cycle pricing, what is that? Price lining, price stability, psychological pricing. These are concepts that the book talks about. Let's touch on them, a few of them here. Price variability, different prices are charged to different customers. You ever bought an airline ticket and you ever gone back to price maybe the same ticket the next year? Or maybe you're flying with somebody out to a conference and each of you have got your own tickets and you happen to be on the same plane but you paid different prices. That's price variability. Promotional pricing, so I might have some special event or some kind of loss leader that I'm trying to get people in on the promotion. Price leveling, so the customary pricing, what it would expect to be. Customers get used to that. That would be a price leveling. Life cycle has to do with the maturity, age, and then dropping off as something is no longer desired. The pricing might coincide with the movement through the life cycle changes. So of course, when something is new, there's not very many of them out there, but people want it, you can charge a lot for that thing. And then as the market matures and more competitors come into the market, it tends to flatten off and start lowering. And then as it goes into decline, it becomes much less, you don't have much ability to set pricing. It's going to just go down in price after that. So that would be examples of life cycle pricing. Price lining, I just want to look at what my competitor is doing and try to match that. So that would be the whole idea there. Price stability, having a one price policy, don't need to run sales, but I can't fix it below my cost. But this is a good way of doing it. I'm thinking some retailers that they've always are running sales, and they've trained me to only go there when there's a sale. When there's no sale, I don't go there. But if it's a stable kind of pricing situation, and I like the company, I might just shop there anyways, even though there's no sale. Psychological pricing, and a good example of this is the whole $1.99. You see that in a really big way with gas prices. So what's a gas price? It's, I was driving home and I saw that the price of gas was $2.24, and I was thinking the price of gas is $2.24. Was I correct? And the answer is no, I was not correct, because the answer actually is it was $2.24 and 9/10 of a cent. So it was actually close to $2.25. Now it's not much, but psychologically the $2.24 looks better than $2.25. So that would be examples of psychological pricing. How do I establish price? And the book goes through a number of these: cost-oriented pricing, competition-oriented pricing, and demand-oriented pricing. With cost-oriented pricing, it's going to be some kind of markup, or it's going to be some kind of break-even pricing that we're going to be hitting. The book goes through how to calculate the markup. It's kind of a strange math. It's not what you're used to unless you're in retail. It's a little bit different. It makes sense once you've got it down. It does make numerical sense. It's just different than you would think it would be. Break-even pricing, again, there's a calculation. It's in the textbook, and it has to do with when am I going to break even and what should I price it at. Competition-oriented pricing is another way of looking at this, and in this way, I look at what whoever the leader is in my industry, and I try to match that. And I now shop the competition to figure out what's going on. Demand-oriented pricing it's based on the consumer demand. So if there's a unusual environment of some sort, huge availability of something, all of a sudden there's a lot of it out there, the price will go down. All of a sudden that dries up, the price will go up because there's less supply. Again, I still have to watch out for price gouging. I don't ever want to conduct that. Pricing adjustments, markups, or mark-ons would often be placed on some kind of trendy or fad thing, or some kind of item that's in high demand, or holiday seasonal item. All right, Santa Clauses in January are much less expensive than Santa Clauses in October and November, right? Markdowns help move older products, clear inventory maybe, so we can bring new stuff in or move to a new location, etc. These would be